Hello everybody, welcome to this video, the continuation of my series on AQA GCSE English Literature 2017 onwards exam. In yesterday's video, or the last video in the playlist, if you're watching this a little bit later on, we looked at, or started to look at, the Paper 1 Section A on Shakespeare. We focused on the fact that everything comes from my ebook available at mrbruff.com. We looked at the fact that it's a closed book exam, so you've got to memorize key quotations. And all four assessment objectives are assessed, although the weighting of them is different, and I'll talk about that right now for you. So you can see here that the majority of marks are awarded for AO1 and AO2, basically being able to write your paragraphs with backing up with quotations and being able to analyse, and then being able to analyse language, form and structure. Whilst context is assessed, AO3, so in terms of Shakespeare, it is important to bear Elizabethan England in mind and think about how the Elizabethan audience might respond, and understanding of the 1500s in England helps our understanding of the text. The weighting is less. You can see here it's only 7.5%, so it's half of that of AO2 or AO1. And because of that, we can think, okay, we've got to mention some things about context, but we have to make sure our whole answer isn't just, one big contextual piece. And then, as I said, 4 marks in Section A for spelling, punctuation and grammar, which really just means, look, you don't have to worry about, I'm going to start with 2 adjectives here, I'm going to build a semicolon in there, have a short sentence for effect. It's not that same level as the writing sections of the language paper. It's really just, look, at the end, give yourself 5 minutes to check for any mistakes. Now, we looked at a typical question, the Act 1, Scene 5, moment that Romeo and Juliet meet, this lovely conversation, everything that you see on screens in the ebook, so you can follow along there. So we looked at an example of an argument yesterday that wasn't well structured, and now we're going to look at how do we turn that around into an answer that is conceptualized, into an answer that is actually much better, using the same analysis points, because I'm not, I don't want to say, you have to have a sort of a totally different level of intelligence to do this. All I'm saying is, can we draw those ideas which were very separate, can we draw them together into a coherent line of argument? So how about this? Both in this extract and the wider play, Shakespeare presents love as all-encompassing, filling every aspect of life. To begin with, Shakespeare uses language to suggest that love is a spiritual and godly emotion. We see this through Shakespeare's use of language, where Romeo continually uses religious imagery when explaining his feelings to Juliet. He calls Juliet a holy shrine, which suggests Juliet's a deity. Romeo also professes that he himself is a pilgrim, someone on a religious journey to visit a sacred site. This extended metaphor continues throughout the extract and is used by Shakespeare to suggest that the love felt by Romeo and Juliet is pure, holy and sacred. This is the first time the audience has seen Romeo use such religious language, and as a result we are inclined to believe in the love he has for Juliet. As the play is set in Italy, a very religious city, the use of religious language seems all the more appropriate for the time and place in which the action takes place. If the spiritual aspect of love is one side, the other side of love is the physical and sexual aspect, which is presented as being just as important by Shakespeare. Earlier in the play, Romeo lamented how Rosaline would not ope her lap for saints seducing gold. This line is ambiguous, but seems to suggest that Romeo had offered Rosaline payment in return for sexual gratification. Here Shakespeare is presenting a different side to love. Not only is it spiritual, but also physical. The message is clear. Love is all-encompassing and all-consuming. The audience would note that the two seemingly contrasting topics are used to discuss the theme of love, suggesting that in true love there is no contrast, all is united. At the time in which the play was written, arranged marriages were the norm between the middle and upper classes. To an Elizabethan audience, they would understand Shakespeare's message here: true love transcends the conventions of society. Finally, Shakespeare uses form to convey the all-encompassing nature of love. The combined conversation between the two in this extract joins together to complete a perfect sonnet. Sonnets are a form of love poetry which have 14 lines of iambic pentameter with the rhyme scheme ABA, BC, CD, EF, EF, G, G. Shakespeare's employment of form is here used to symbolise that the couple are perfect for each other and complete each other. Only when united together do their words create a sonnet, symbolising how they can only find true love when joined together. The audience would feel delighted that these two, both so clearly unhappy with the way their lives were heading, have found perfect happiness. Perfect love, it seems clear, is the joint combination of spiritual and physical romance. Okay, if you watch the previous video, you'll see that I didn't have to do much to join my points together here into one well-constructed argument. It just requires a little thought, and throughout both literature papers, this is something you need to do in order to achieve the highest marks available. Try not to just write a number of isolated points, but try to think about one idea, one coherent line of argument which you can explain and explore throughout the answer in reference to language, structure, form, and referencing context a little bit as well, as you saw that I did here. And that's really the way to get to the perfect answer. Now let's have a little think about the question. Language refers to the words which are used, and this is the simplest line of analysis, and as I said, it's the one which most students write about first. Whether you're picking out language devices such as similes and metaphors, or just picking out words or phrases which seem significant, it's all language analysis. Structure refers to the organization of a text. The Greek philosopher Aristotle, around the year 335 BC, wrote Poetics, a book which included theories on narrative structure. Aristotle believed that drama could be divided into 3 sections, and in the 19th century, building on his work, the German novelist Gustav Freytag proposed that all 5-act plays follow the same format, with the exposition, the beginning where we are introduced to the characters and the setting, the rising action, a series of events which keep the reader interested, the climax where the main character comes face to face with a problem and has a choice to make, the falling action where the problem unravels and the hero either wins or loses, and the denouement, the fallout from the way the characters deal with the the climax. Now in the literature exam you can think about the structure of an extract or poem, but also the structure of where that extract occurs in the text to begin with. So think about the structure of the extract, but also where does that extract appear in the overall structure of the text? And of course, that comes down to having an absolutely brilliant understanding of the text. You need to know these texts inside out. Even for something like Romeo and Juliet, which is pretty hard going, you need to make sure that you've read it a few times, including in your own time. And when we talk about form, we're talking about when writers follow particular rules about the organization of a text. For example, Shakespeare's use of the sonnet form in the extract. In the ebook at mrbruff.com, I then give an example of an answer, a more detailed answer on Macbeth, which analyses language, structure and form. And there is also a guide to Macbeth at mrbruff.com. Please do head over to mrbruff.com, look at the ebooks. I'm working so hard to create these revision guides for you guys, and I hope you find them useful.